Today, we're revealing. This is Unreal Tia, from bombshell lies to covert breakups. Before the drama begins, hit the subscribe button. Greetings to all. He had no idea which state his kids were from. Utah. It's not an error. Neglect is what that is. Jaws dropped across living rooms at that kind of surprise. We are not referring to a single erunged child in a distant location. We're talking about a number of children, many of whom are well known, not isolated or off the grid, and easily located with a straightforward Google search if he were interested enough to check. Rumor circulated for years that he was a performer rather than a parent and an absentee father. However, this was unique. This was a painfully detached level. And missing the games wasn't the only thing. Those were the moments that followed Aspen. Calm, trustworthy Aspen confronting her father directly. What makes you dislike me? The question every child dreads is asked, and all she gets in return is a straightforward response that seems honest and is wrapped in, "You're my daughter, the dead. I've always cherished your meaningless words." Truth came to light while Aspens and Mules were packing their boxes to go. Aspen wasn't the troublemaker or drama queen. She had stepped in to take care of her siblings. Truly had suffered from kidney failure, a terrible medical event that no teenager should ever have to go through. She continued to question whether her own father even liked her. This is the twist, though, that makes your stomach turn. This sudden impulse to get back in touch wasn't the result of a heartbreaking realization. It took place following a catastrophe. When he happened to be there, his kids had already been sent there by others who did the labor he refused to do. And he downplayed it when he was publicly questioned about it. He created a cold row out of living, breathing youngsters. A few of my children from a different mother. An earthquake would ensue if this was the start of the Fisherverse. The devotion that was not reciprocated. In an almost irrational way, Meri was devoted to Robyn. She remained silent when there were rumors of partiality, suspicious situations, or gossip. She remained unbiased, perhaps even murmuring, "Huh, interesting." Never publicly ridicule or betray someone. Therefore, Robyn's accusation that Meri was behaving covertly was not only incorrect, but also a planned misdirection. Robyn has been avoiding Meri for months because of the truth. Rumor-mongering was not what this was. This has to do with taking accountability, something Robyn struggles with. Meri wasn't the only one. Anyone who assisted Meri in becoming clearer, such as Jen, was promptly put out of business. The tone was set by Kody's famous, "ditch those" comment directed at ladies who refused to cooperate. Robyn may have sobbed on television, but walls were rapidly rising off of it. To Ty's and the crew's immense dismay, the non-clucking went on for days. The camping excursion was a powerful statement. Remember that camping trip if you want the best picture of this family dynamic. Robyn in full cosmetics. While others hauled equipment, set up tents, and prepared meals, children had perfect hair. Kody is also doing nothing. The older children are going above and above without complaining. Jenelle cut it back when Hunter finally became irritated. It was because naming it would expose it, not because it wasn't true. It was too risky for the same grown-ups who were as frustrated in private to support in public. The unwritten code is it. Even if it means defending dysfunction, maintain the image. The tale of love. No one is purchasing. Because he and Robyn are so in love, Kody boasts that his children watch them. The reality. During those extravagant shows, the majority of kids would avoid making eye contact. However, the TV show is good. Besieged soulmates. Standing erect. Robyn even asked if Kody would be satisfied with monogamy. Perhaps projection. Because she is no longer the preferred wife in the absence of several marriages. In a difficult marriage, she is just another wife. And relinquishing that position, it displays the self-centeredness. Look at the achievements. Logan's graduation. The engagement of Matty. Hunter's basic training call. They all found their way into Robyn's orbit. Even in times of medical emergency. Isabel's procedure. The delivery by Matty. Robyn's discomfort or sentiments were the reason of Truly's illness. A chilly form of polygamy, separate homes, and no co-wifery had previously been a part of her upbringing. Thus, she appropriated the title and brought that same sense of alienation with her when she joined. For aesthetic reasons. The fascination with the terrain when Christine and Meri left Coyote Pass. Jenelle was still dedicated to the ideal, but with fresh ideas and sincere plans. Ironically, it's more realistic, more scripted, and more advanced than Kody ever was. Even as a concept, Tota Farms has produced more observable outcomes than Coyote Pass ever did. And it demonstrates something important. Robyn is no longer the preferred spouse. The only person still standing is her. Fissures in the final marriage that takes place behind closed doors. Robyn and Kody's marriage isn't as harmonious as they portray it to be. Fractures are being caused by Kody's growing insecurity, public pressure, and financial dependence. He seemed to be in dire need of approval. Despite the dire state of the marriage, she appears unable or reluctant to relinquish the safety net. Then came the moment of revelation, when Robyn negotiated with his children and Kody retaliated. Seemed like a conflict, a defensive outburst on the off-the-script, on behalf of children. The larger question, however, hung like smoke in the air. Why would he abandon 13 children and 3 spouses along the road again? They called it reconnecting, the reunion that never happened. Everyone listening, however, knew better. There was no concerted effort to restore confidence or offer a long list of excuses. While the children were already gathered, it was work pretending to be Chance Kody, shaking hands, and posing for the photographers. Vanishing. And when the family story needed to be made sweeter, the timing was fortunate after a tragedy. You weren't listening if you assumed it was merely a coincidence. Aspen, who battled to care for Truly during her renal ailment, and other people who ought to have been at the heart of the narrative were relegated to cameo roles in their own tales. Meanwhile, everyone's attention was squarely on Kody's bravery for just turning up. The picture control machine owned by Robyn. Now, Robyn acts in a way that has been practiced. She veers off topic when under pressure. She reframes the reality when it affects her image. She is willing to expose others who are whispering about her, but she has chosen to remain in the dark about the reality. The trust is shattered. The receipts often don't support the tale she promotes, and that's not an editorial style. That's Robyn, the resentful favorite, manipulating reality to suit her own. Her complaint that someone had. It was a masterful act to slip inside my sister's wife's closet. Putting items in a basket and checking out isn't illegal, as anyone who has ever shopped online knows, but framing it that way made her the victim once more. The selective parenting of Kody. Kody's overt bigotry against Robyn's children is among the most difficult things to witness. His other children, largely without him, deal with disappointment, marriage, college, and the workforce. Robyn devotes all of his attention to his children, even the little, most commonplace occasions. It's not a trick of the eye. Kody hardly ever disputes it outright, and some older kids have been candid about feeling abandoned. In an attempt to evade the harsh reality that he made a conscious decision about where to focus his time and energy, he instead complains of a story of miscommunication or wounded sentiments. The parallel world of Janelle in the event that Robyn is Kody's public co-star. The shadow of what might have been is Janelle. She keeps sharing. Unlike him, she is taking action to realize Kody's dream of home ownership. Timetables for timber clearing, site layouts, and architect drawings. Her handling of her new property does not like the never-ending impasse in Coyote Pass. Even Tota Farms' christening appears to be a deliberate and independent legacy enterprise, Kody or not. There is a stark contrast. While Jenelle cultivates the silent resentment, Robyn delays. No amount of soulmate branding can conceal the strain that exists between Kody and Robyn. In private, the brusque tone, the eye-rolling, and the barely concealed impatience all betray his anger. But even Robyn, who is standing in front of the camera, is susceptible to it. She finds herself in a financial bind with a man who, based on his own behavior, leaves when things get too tough. She must pay the price. She is also conscious that she does not have much money outside of her bubble. Thus, they are left with two individuals who are more bonded to one another by physical resemblance than genuine affection. The question that cuts is the one that won't go away. Through each meticulously planned moment, each rejection, and each heartfelt admission. Why not do it again if he previously divorced 3 wives and left 13 children? Robyn could think she's unique. Even though Kody thinks he's found the one, history and his older children's rumors reveal a more sinister reality. Furthermore, the cost won't be just another season plot point when the next fracture appears. The final delusion that is keeping this family together will fall apart. The reality below the terrace. The live epitome of emotional excess has always been the Robyn. The trembling voice, the full eyes, the well-timed outbursts. However, there is a thin line separating pretending and vulnerability. The audience is increasingly left wondering where she stands. Following Gwen's public declaration of her sexual orientation, Robyn didn't take the occasion to heart. She should have put it away for the cameras. It was to tell her. That single phrase tore the velvet away from what motivates so. Robyn's tactile moments are numerous. Command of the narrative. Every on-camera hug has a calculus behind it. What will this look like? What will happen? And above all, how will this support my position? The altercation in the driveway. The driveway scene, which presented the unvarnished truth, may have been the pivotal moment that led to individuals working out actual problems. Rather, it was presented as a play. Talking points that sounded prepared, language that ticked off, and cameras angled exactly. The discussion. Never getting around to the underlying wounds, this marriage was repaired by circling the same safe terrain. Years of selective parenting, financial manipulation, and favoritism. There was a hint of fake storytelling even in the supper that followed the baptism, which was photographed months later and included in the season as though it had been taken on the same day. There were more than just editing mistakes in the continuity. The goal was to control the emotional timeline. The fantasy of Flagstaff. Following the family's relocation to Flagstaff, the public discourse was of new chapters and new beginnings. In reality, though, Robyn's goal was to keep her household apart. In order to maintain the appearance of family togetherness, she wanted the other wives to remain in Las Vegas far enough away to minimize impromptu visits. Kody, who was inclined for monogamy and life, also cooperated. There was no exiting drama. It was the deliberate establishment of a new hierarchy, one in which Robyn easily set atop. Flashback is taken over by milestones, and a pattern emerges. Logan's graduation. Robyn talks. Robyn's pregnancy announcement overshadowed Matty's engagement. Robyn's baby sex announcement interrupted Hunter's call from basic training. Moments from other individuals repeatedly served as the background for her spotlight. There was plenty of cheering, but the anger was growing. Even Isabel's operation, which was the result of her courage and recuperation, was a result of Robyn's need for Kody. The surgery was the beast story around the home. Robyn's emotions were the narrative. In order to understand Robyn's definition of polygamy, it is necessary to take into account her early years. Separate homes, women who don't spend much time together, a father who alternates weekends, and holidays that are postponed until they fit his schedule. It was parallel monogamy with alternating lovers rather than plural marriage. And that template was with Robyn when she arrived at Kody's house. Although she never led the life that the title entailed, she retained the status of sister wife. And, therefore, it was always a fissure to become a part of the family. The walls were there from the start, and Robyn is no longer where she had hoped to be now that the last wife has left. The public image is changing, the image control fortress has hairline fissures, and the marriage to Kody is strained. She is financially inseparable from a man who has demonstrated that he will follow her if she walks out. He has a strong emotional attachment to the notion that he will continue to be viewed as a hero by someone. Additionally, the unavoidable reality looms over each of them. The children now have their own platforms, voices, and receipts. Viewers are no longer the only audience. The family is unvarnished. Scrubbrush was supposed to be the dream, but the property that broke the family's Coyote Pass was more than simply dust. One common heaven, 4 homes. Evidence that the Brown family was resilient. Behind the camera, however, it was a war of broken promises, ownership percentages, and numbers. Janelle invested in real estate, never given a title, just by her name. Christine left without making any long-term commitments. Though not in spirit, Meri remained on paper. Without hesitation, Robyn and Kody secured their plot, securing good land and a mortgage that guaranteed their claim. Every Coyote Pass family meeting went according to the same plan. As Kody surreptitiously transferred money to Robyn's security, he emphasized, "We're in this together." The others were left with ambiguous assurances, no hard timelines, and growing skepticism that they were delusions. The enigma of the mortgage. Long before the shows did, the entire tale was revealed in the public documents. What the show never fully disclosed was exposed by real estate documents. The other spouses were told to lease, save, and wait while Robyn's house was bought outright. Kody had defended it as a family tactic, but the numbers were clear. Robyn's accounts never mentioned the debt that was burdening everyone else. Janelle started asking more challenging questions. "If we're able to, why couldn't we begin working on my house so that we may purchase one for Robyn?" Kody's patience waned as his responses became harsher. Then came the day Jenelle discovered the most damning information of all. She could never fully control the territory that was associated with her name. The financial records leaked while Robyn's was securing and being sacrosanct. An anonymous note was left under Janelle's door one peaceful afternoon. The dates of photocopies of bank records, wire transactions, and mortgage statements matched the chronology of Robyn's purchase of a home. Money from a family account was shown there in plain and white, rerouted in little amounts, and marked with mysterious memo lines such as immediate expense and housing needs. Jenelle tossed and flipped the deposit slips, Kody's handwriting on them. Knowing that this was not a financial matter, she sat at her kitchen table that evening and gazed at the documents. It was evidence of treachery. Christine's caution. Christine was not available when Janelle called her to share what she had discovered. Startled, she simply let out a sigh. "I've been trying to catch your attention on this. 4 years, Dad has given her preference over us. You can prove it with something." Christine begged her to stop protecting the united family's integrity and come out. Janelle paused. She continued to hold out hope that there would be a way to patch things up, not for Kody's benefit, but for the kids. She was unaware that the kids were already assembling the narrative in their brains and becoming thinner. With endurance, the children stepped forward. Garrison volunteering was the first to protest. Gwen followed, each with their own account of what happened. The charges are pounded on each other. The realization of the vision. Without Robyn, Kody would have missed out on significant events. Financial favoritism that left the other households in ruins. Manipulation of emotions that is concealed. Leadership within the family. And the more they talked, the more the crowd focused on Robyn as well as Kody. The stronghold was eroding. The never-stopping camera. Everyone assumed that after the scene technically concluded, rolling TLC production workers always disassembled. During a brief planning discussion about parcel lines in the afternoon on Coyote Pass, one of the cameramen was observed failing to take out a mic. While everyone else left in a huff, Kody and Robyn remained, and the mic continued to roll on all the conversations. Kody's low, raspy voice was captured on the tape. "They will never survive here. Not without me. Allowing them to dream prevents them from moving." Earlier, Robyn chuckled, but not in a good way. "And the land remains ours even after they give up." There was never any air on that tape. One crew member retained it even though it was marked as B-roll that couldn't be used in the DOSes. The unidentified person fell. Christine got a USB drive in the mail 3 months later. There is only a sticky note and no return address. "This is something you ought to have." The drive included a segment shot inside Robyn's house and 14 minutes of unedited footage of an encounter at Coyote Pass. Kody paces among the living in it, waving a crumpled statement in the room. "We'll merge Janelle's parcel into ours if she doesn't pay her portion by winter." The conversation is over. Robyn looks up from her laptop just enough to nod. Those statements had more weight than just monetary consequences. It was evidence of a deliberate scheme to evict the other women. The altercation that TLC was unable to broadcast. It wasn't sat on by Christine. She chose two of the elder children and names Meri and Jenelle. At Janelle's rented home, they got together, lowered the blinds, and pressed play. There was silence in the room. Meri turned pale. Jenelle had to place her mug on the table because her hands were shaking so much. Jenelle got up from her chair when the clip ended and stated, "Then we do it my way. No cameras, no editing. He's going to hear us." Kody arrived at Janelle's house expecting to have another family conversation for the second night in a row. Instead, he entered a room filled with ladies and kids who were all carrying printed copies of the recording. The yelling began within seconds. Kody refuted, sidestepped, attempted to use it as a charge against their allegiance. They wouldn't let him spin it tonight, though. On the audio, Christine echoed his own remarks each time he avoided. Robyn remained silent. She crossed her hands so firmly that her knuckles were white. The tipping point. Two things were evident at the conclusion of the dispute. This was the last step the family would take. This tape would never be touched by TLC. Christine disconnected all lingering TIs in a matter of weeks. Jenelle stopped shooting. Meri's confession was enigmatic. Dropped from the season's starting lineup. Behind closed doors, the battle over Coyote Pass was only getting started, but the Brown family as the world knew them was gone. Weeks after the altercation, Jenelle received a big white envelope in her mailbox, which was the first legal threat. No address for return. On sparkling law firm letterhead, there was a cease and desist letter inside, instructing her to stop sharing fake audio or video recordings and to stop publicly disparaging the Brown family. The attorney's signature at Kody's own lawyer in the end. Jenelle, however, was aware that the footage was authentic. The same anonymous source actually emailed her 2 more tapes this time. Kody and an unidentified real estate agent talk over the phone about ways to expedite the property's sale without the other women knowing. Christine, a private detective, made the decision to learn more about whatever Kody was plotting. A retired PI, a man who had previously specialized in uncovering political corruption. He came back a month later with an inch of file, property deeds, thick bank records, and internal communications between Robyn and Kody that outline the detailed strategy for combining Coyote Pass ownership under one name, Robyn's. A notarized declaration from a former TLC crew member attesting that he was told not to record some of the arguments because they would damage the series' reputation irreparably was even more fiery. The deposition was leaked. After that, the bombshell revealed a leaked excerpt of Kody's own testimony in a separate court case, under oath in it. The others had no legal interest if they weren't fulfilling their responsibilities, and he acknowledged, "My intent was to obtain the land in a way that would protect my marriage to Robyn first and foremost." Within hours, the audio recordings and a clip of that comment went viral. Panicked, TLC executives frantically rushed. They made a hazy public declaration about protecting the Brown family's privacy while directing editors to remove any scenes that were about to be shot that would give away the recordings. But it was too late. The puzzle had been put together by fans. Subreddits sprang up. For weeks, hashtags were popular. The atmosphere in the Brown home was poisonous. Unless Kody was present, Robyn would not open the door. Anonymous texts telling Christine's children to quit making trouble were sent to them. In her driveway, Jenelle's tires were cut. On a chilly January morning, Kody summoned the remaining spouses to the farm for the final command. He got up, delivering his last line in the dirt atop a ridge of frozen ground. "If you don't sign your claims, I'll make sure that none of you get paid when the cells are released." Chanel's chuckle reverberated around the deserted field. Christine simply walked back to her car after turning. Meri was still motionless, her hands shaking as she held the papers. It resembled a family member's funeral and the beginning of open warfare. The first strike, 3 days over Kody's due date. A listing subtly surfaced on a website for rural real estate, a 25-acre Coyote Pass lots. The owner's identity was concealed using a Nevada-registered Shell LLC. However, Robyn's sibling was identified by Christine's PI. It was a test, not just a transaction. Kody might prove in court that all of the property should be divided and sold without his wife's consent if it sold rapidly. Janelle was the first to go public with the retaliation. She filmed a 12-minute movie in front of the sold sign that included information on each clandestine meeting, zoning change, and all the emails she had found. The implications were ruthless, but she did not mention names. Within hours, her video received 5 million views. It made the local news. The Public Relations Division of TLC went into damage control mode. Weeks later, there was nighttime sabotage. Floodlights illuminated the property in the dead of night. Security cameras showed hoods and dark people removing survey stakes and setting them on fire in a metal drum. Kody said that when the video surfaced, it was trespassers attempting to disrupt his aspirations for progress. Jenelle recognized the grainy footage and the sweater. On the other hand, Christine organized a covert meeting at a diner an hour outside of town for one of Kody's nephews. The midnight meeting. Blinds closed. No phones. A manila folder on the desk held printouts of offshore bank accounts, each connected to deposits that appeared suspiciously near the dates of land payments. Kody wasn't the only person linked to the accounts. They located a holding firm that was connected to a previous executive at TLC. The actual last game. It was made clear in the PI's final report. Step 1. To determine market worth, sell off small portions of Coyote Pass under family names. Step 2. Put the remaining wives under legal pressure to sell. Step 3. To prevent division in a future divorce, move all proceeds into offshore accounts. The ultimate buyer who was lurking in the wings was also no stranger. The idea to make the property a Sister Wives tourist destination came from TLC itself. The fuse is lighted. The spouses now had the smoking gun, but revealing it would mean permanently destroying their relationships with the network. No contracts, no payments, no show. Christine nodded, her hands shaking, and Janelle leaned across the table and whispered, "If we fall, he falls with us." Meri remained silent, gazing into her coffee, aware that their next decision would decide everything. Smash like if you're #team wife because this family's turmoil is far from over. Sign up for the. Leave a remark below and wait for the next exciting update. Who do you predict to prevail? Continue to be suspicious and inquisitive, and I'll see you at the next scandal involving TLC's Sister Wives.